And now the exciting part about film is you get to take it in to get processed, and you get to wait until you get it back to see if anything even turned out. So next step, take it to the lab and wait for it to get processed. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Todd Coons, and today is part 2 of the video that I started actually 4 weeks ago, where I shot film with this old camera. Film has become a very big deal these days. It's very trendy, I don't know, it's just the thing to do. A lot of young people are shooting film, and I'm starting to notice that, and it's becoming this resurgence. I don't know what the draw to it is, but a lot of people are shooting film. So 4 weeks ago, I went out, took an old film camera off my shelf, which the shutter seems to work really well. So I took a roll of 620 film out, went and shot it, and I have to be honest with you, it took 3 weeks to get the film back from the lab. It's been 4 weeks, but partly only because I've just been so busy recently. I haven't got the video put together. So it's 4 weeks after I shot that film that I'm now talking about it, but I've had the film for a week, week and a half, something like that. But I did have to wait for it, about 2.5, 3 weeks. Okay, so a couple of little things. For starters, I wanted to do a little update on this camera. This was literally something that's been sitting on my shelf just as a decorative thing. It's been sitting on my shelf for probably 20 years. It actually goes with this box that was also sitting on my shelf for all that time. I didn't realize the two went together. I had forgotten that I took them out, displayed them. My grandfather from Indiana, my Grandpa Roy, he actually gave me this, and I did a little digging and putting these two together. There's actually a newspaper article in here from Indiana. That's how I put together who gave it to me. I looked up this type of camera. They made these from 1940 to 1948. So this camera that I went out with a month ago and shot with is about 80 years old. So let's get right to the important part, and that is, what did the film end up looking like? Here are the 8 shots that I took straight out of the camera. Now the film was processed in the lab traditionally, just the way you would have always processed film, and then the film was scanned into the computer, and so what you're seeing is those digital scans of each image. Now here is the film itself. Let me pull it out of this plastic sleeve to give you kind of an idea of what it looks like. If you notice, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but the images on each frame really look well exposed, healthy. They just good, clean negatives. Caitlin at the lab, big thanks to her. She did a phenomenal job processing these. I know she was a little bit nervous about it because she hadn't developed this particular film, but she did a great job. The images look fantastic as far as the development and the exposures, and all of that seemed to go really well. Now I have to say this because when it comes to shooting film versus shooting digital, my first knee-jerk reaction is, why would I spend the money to shoot film? So let's talk about the cost of this. The roll of film that I shot, $12.99. To process and scan it cost me $14. So that's $26.99. Throw in a little bit of tax, divide by 8 frames. It cost me about $3.50 per image to shoot this roll of film. Now that's not a huge amount of money, but of course, you know, if I'd have shot it digitally, it would have been free. So $3.50 per shot would get pretty expensive if you were doing a lot of it. Now let me talk about the film itself. The film that I shot was this, the Film Photography Project. It's FPP 620. It is 100 ISO film, just a straight black and white film. And although the contrast, the density, the shadow detail, all of that, you know, I don't claim to be a film expert by any means anymore. I have not shot it for a very long time. All of that looks really nice. My only observation about the film itself was that it's incredibly grainy for a 100-speed film. If you'd have showed me this film and said, look at the grain structure, tell me what ISO this film is, I would have guessed 800, 1600, something like that. It's super grainy for 100-speed film. One of the big things that I hear from film shooters when I talk to them, why do you shoot film? A lot of them like to tell me, film just has a look about it that I can't get with digital. So the big question I have for myself is, can I achieve the look of these images if I shot them digitally. You know, you can buy presets all over the place that just, one click of the button in Lightroom and it looks like film. Can I replicate what this film looked like had I shot it originally with digital? And I'm going to say, and I didn't try to do this, and this is totally a personal preference. I think I could come pretty darn close. I could get the grain, I could get the softness, I could get the contrast, I could do all of that. But the one thing that I think shooting film through a camera like this that would be hard to replicate is the simple fact that this lens is not near as quality as the lenses I have on my digital camera. So this lens and this camera itself is going to produce qualities that a digital camera doesn't. I don't know if you guys can see this very well, but the lens itself is flat. A modern lens has got a curvature to it. And a lens like this, the quality they were making in the 40s for a consumer level camera like this, this was the kind of camera that the masses were buying. The quality of that lens is just not going to be the same as a lens today. So if you look at my images, there's a softness to them. There's certain little flares about them that a lens like this is going to create that is probably difficult to duplicate. So can I duplicate what film gives me? Yeah, I think for the most part I probably can. Can I duplicate what this lens does? Maybe, but not easily. So if you like the look that this camera gives, it may be beneficial to shoot film. So one of the things I wanted to kind of point out with this film that I thought was kind of interesting, and I don't know if it's the lens, it's the camera itself, it's the film, I don't know what all kind of brought about, but there were a few little issues, and surprisingly, there were not the issues I thought there was going to be. I thought an 80-year-old camera would have light leaks and some craziness like that. I didn't really experience any of that, but let me show you a few things that did come out on the film that was a little bit surprising. First of all, I had these streaks. They were very apparent in the sky, especially when I used the 25 red and the polarizer, where the sky got darker, those streaks became very apparent. I don't think that they were just simply clouds in the sky. They're just weird, and I'll show some examples of these things. Also, a couple of the images had kind of a glowy, out of focus look to them. And I'm sure that came from the lens. It's just not as sharp corner to corner as you would think a modern lens would be. And then the other issue with the film that I didn't necessarily expect, I've already said something about, was the grain. It just was super grainy, and it created a almost softness to the images. They're in focus, but they're not sharp, if that makes any sense. And I'm going to attribute that to just the old lens and the quality of the lens itself. But again, here's some examples with the graininess and the overall not completely tack sharp. Now, I think one of the big questions that I would have for film shooters is how much post-processing work do you do on these images? Now, we all know that a lot of post-processing work goes into digital images for professional photographers. If you look at what the raw image looks like and what they end up doing to the images in post-processing, sometimes it's, night and day what photographers are doing these days. But the question I had was, as a film shooter, is the trend that's happening right now, is there kind of this purist thing going on that, you shoot film, you get what you get, and that's where you land? And so in my mind, I'm thinking, how much post-processing work should I do to these images? And the conclusion I came to was, in the film days, we'd have taken this film into the darkroom and we would have manipulated it in the darkroom as much as we possibly could. We would have controlled the contrast. We would have done burning and dodging to get the sky and the shadows and everything the way we wanted it. So in my mind, I thought, I'm going to do all that I can, or all that I feel needs to be done, to get the images the way I want them. So I did a little burning and dodging. I did a little bit of contrast control, darkened some skies a little bit, brought up some shadows a tiny bit. I didn't change color. I didn't do anything crazy like that. I just made clean images. I did some retouching because there's definitely some dust and some scratches, and I took care of some of those streaks. But here's those final images. I processed like 3 of them. let me know what you guys think of that. I mean, it was a fun little project, and I had a really good time with it. It was a lot of fun to get out there, shoot film, take a photograph, and not know what you're getting until you're going to see it 3 weeks later. That was kind of fun. Now, I don't have any desire to go back to that full time by any means. Not on a professional level, especially. You know, just for fun, maybe. One of the conclusions I have to admit to you guys is I was so impressed by this little camera still working after all these years. No light leaks, was consistent, it worked. I was just impressed. That was one of the biggest things that I was excited about. And then when the film came out and I saw good, clean images on it, that was exciting as well. And and I'll kind of run through them again here as I'm concluding, but you can see the difference between the sky and, the punch of the images from those filters. So one of the things that I used to like in the film days was putting filters over my black and white images to kind of enhance things. That was a lot of fun, and that was always an Ansel Adams thing, that he used to really do that. So that part of photography is kind of lost in the digital age, so I enjoyed that as well. But as always, guys, I'm humbled and grateful that you watched the video. I appreciate every one of you. If you haven't subscribed, think about that. Leave me a thumbs up if you would. And if you could leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you guys as always. Let me know what you thought about the little film project that I did. And if you want to see more of it, I actually have one more film project that I'm thinking of doing if I can pull everything together and make this video. So we got one more thing we may do on film, but we'll see how it goes in the future. I'm not... haven't gotten the bug so much that I'm going to start doing it on a regular basis. But let me know what you think. As always, guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate every one of you. Have a great weekend, and I will see you very soon.